You are now tuned in to the Lineman Lounge, the world's thickest sports podcast, with your hosts, Mike and Evo.
Come on, down, bitches. This is the Lineman Lounge. I am Mike. That is Evo. It is Tuesday night. We are here to recap week 15 of the NFL. We had a shitload of football this week. No teams on bye. No teams on bye the rest of the way. We got a bunch of games to break down. Bets, not bad. Both of us had a pretty decent little week moving into the plus column. But before we start diving into everything, let me bring in my guy, Evo. How you doing, bro? Is that a normal ass hat? It kind of looks like you're wearing like a train conductor style hat right now because of the way. Maybe it might be the glare of my TV.
It is a normal hat.
Okay.
Dark multicam. Just a normal hat. So I guess the camouflage is working.
It sure is.
Can't see me. Can't see me coming. What's up, dude? I'm doing good. I'm glad to be here. Glad that we had both of us had a positive week of betting. We are on the right track. Pretty solid. You know, you gotta grab onto the little things, especially when our football teams are on divergent paths. It seems like you got to find the good things, hunt the good stuff. Army MRT training. It's a beautiful thing. Beautiful day. Just like I was getting in a beautiful nap right before the show. I set an alarm. I woke up, door closing of Hannah coming back from work for the day. And my alarm was just sitting going dun, 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 in my ear, and I couldn't even hear it. I was so knocked out. So thank you to her for letting me know that it was showtime, because otherwise I'd still be sleeping right now.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that we got it all in. You brought up MRT. And, you know, I need some of that right now because it's a tough year. And Brown's Twitter won't let me have any fucking fun. The fun apparently is a bad thing nowadays. I've been in spats all day on Twitter. Yeah, Jameis is losing his games. Jameis, don't worry, Jameis ain't playing. But it was more fun to watch Jameis. I understand. I want to win. It's not always about fun. But when your team sucks dick, which guess what? The Browns fucking do this year. And they sucked with Deshaun Watson. I'm going to try to have a little bit of fun. So everybody relax. We'll maybe get better in the offseason. We got a long way to go before we get there, though, because there's a lot of unanswered questions. We said that Barry and Stefanski are going to be back. Is that for real? We don't know. I think it'll maybe depend on how they finish out the rest of the season. There's so much shit to do. But listen, I'm going to keep having fun. I'm going to keep saying the wild shit that I say because fuck it. What's the worst that could happen, baby?
I can think of a couple things when it comes to online footprint that can happen. But
yeah,
it's also we're not going to be ungenuine. We are not going to be dishonest. We're not going to not be ourselves. Which you can love us, you can hate us, but we're still just a couple of chill guys, and we're not as bad as you might think. You know, we're pretty decent people.
We try to be, anyways. By the way, Graydon thinks you're wearing a cowboy hat.
What the fuck is going on?
I'm telling you, the way that light is hitting the hat, bro.
It looks normal on my screen.
Okay. All right. That's what matters. Hey, look good, feel good. Feel good, play good, baby. Now you're good to go.
All right.
Now we know what's up.
Awesome. But look, your team, they're struggling. They're not having a good year. It is tough to find the good things in the season, but I think we are looking at a different season than we've seen recently, where so many teams are in the same sort of spot. They are ready to hit the reset button. They are ready to make major changes. It is all leading up to having so many teams that are 3-win, 4-win, 2-win teams out there going into an off season where the head coaching market isn't necessarily the greatest. There's some really good names. There's some names that are probably going to just be willing to stay pat and not leave. And you don't have a necessarily great draft class. There's definitely some really good pieces in this draft, but at the positions that really matter and make a difference in a new head coach and GM's career, i.e. like the quarterback position, it's pretty bad. And particularly at the top of the draft, it's a bad draft class. Like there's 10 first-round players, maybe 3 guys that are blue chip, like worth a top 5 pick. And then it kind of falls off after that. There's a lot of deep spots in this draft, but it makes it really difficult if you are one of those types of head coaches that's going to be taking over a team and you're expected to fix it. Well, you want to go to the draft. You want to get young guys. You want to put your thumbprint on the team. It's a tough time to do it. It's why guys like Belichick are probably like, oh, I'll go to college for at least a year, you know?
That gives you some time.
It puts owners in a tough spot too, because if you have a situation like your Browns with Barry and Stefanski, and they're not getting away from that Deshaun contract anytime soon, it's like we can start pulling the trigger on firings and new hirings, but you're bringing in that new staff without a whole lot of positives to look at. Feels like more negatives at least. So it's a tough situation to be in.
Yeah, it's tough. It's not, dude. And Brown's Twitter is tearing itself apart right now. But that's kind of to be expected, man. We just couldn't back up good seasons. It seems like that's always the trend. We'll have a good year, and then we immediately fall back down. First there was Baker takes us to the playoffs, then he's hurt. Then we get to the playoffs last year with a string of dudes. And then this year when we were healthy, relatively healthy, to start the year, things didn't go great. The tackles were bad. The tackles were not healthy, got healthy, but Deshaun played bad the entire way. It's a poison pill contract. There's nothing we can do. We know he's going to be back next year. He's got to be back next year. But I'm going to have some fun. Listen, I got DTR starting the rest of the way probably. I'm excited to see what DTR's got. Do I think it's going to be any good? Probably not, based on the things that we've seen. But you know what? It kind of steers where I'm going to bet on Sundays.
Alrighty.
Watch a little bit of this game, and then maybe I'll turn on the 4 screen, which is what I had to do this last Sunday because it was just so hard to watch Jameis throw the game away.
I feel it. Look, at the end of the day, this NFL season is very much like life. The one thing that we are guaranteed after birth is death, right? And the one thing that all these teams are guaranteed is that they are all going to have a final game of their season. We just don't know when it's going to be. For some of them, it's going to be in 3 weeks from now. And some of them, maybe a little bit later on into February. But we got week 15 to go over here. Fun week of football. Might as well pull up how we did on this week. Our bets, Mike.
Yeah, let me go ahead and pop it up here on the screen. Not bad. Where is the window? Let's actually open the window. There we go. That's helpful when we open the window. All right, man. So I went 10-6 on the week. You went 11-5. Both of us missed on the Commanders. Both of us missed on the Jags. But other than that, we kind of a little back and forth hit here and there. We'll talk about that as we go through the games. But on the season record, I'm now 113, 110, and 1. You are 116, 107, and 1. Back up over that 50% mark. Just got to maintain that the rest of the way. I'll feel very happy about that. And you roar back up into the lead after being down behind most of the year.
Yeah. And look, it could have been better if I had a little bit more faith in my Vikings team. I expected us to have a little return to normalcy, but it didn't all look fantastic last night. But we still got a pretty resounding win.
Sam was slinging it.
Yep. Future is in our hands for the rest of the year. We could take that 1 seed. That's where we're at right now in week 15 is you have a lot of teams that are eliminated, a lot of teams that maybe have slim chances, and then you've got a kind of elite crop that are sitting there at the top, which, that's kind of where we're going to focus. I mean, every team has a little storyline here or there. But going through these games, I think we're going to kind of focus on where most fans are focusing right now, which is, hey, my team is out of it, or hey, I'm looking towards the playoffs and what that's going to look like. So getting into our games, starting with our Sunday games, let's just go ahead and break down your Chiefs, man. They're your Chiefs now, right?
Yeah, they're not.
You're a fan, right?
I'm not a fan. Fuck
no,
the Chiefs. No.
I thought you were gonna flip teams.
No, that's what everybody expects, though, because if you say anything bad about the Browns, apparently you're not a fan. Listen, they're dog shit. They're hot ass. Every which way. Jameis played fucking terrible. 3 picks. 5 sacks. Hey, Jerome Ford showed up. Long run. Really kind of saved the day. 62-yard run. Gives him a respectable day. 7 carries for 84 yards. Jerry Jeudy, still a dog. Hey, over 1,000 yards for Jerry Jeudy. Great season. Without Jameis, I don't know if we find out that Jerry Jeudy plays that well. But it ain't fucking good enough. And not one of these things is good enough. And on top of that, we lose Nick Chubb again for the rest of the year. Now, Nick was having a really hard year to begin with. He was not all the way back. It didn't look like it to me by any means. But now he goes down with a broken foot. And it's very possible that was the last game that we will have seen Nick Chubb in a Browns jersey. And that fucking sucks. Because nobody did what they were supposed to do. The offense is still sputtering. The play calling is atrocious still, and it's a different play caller. It's not the play call. It's the scheme is dog shit. I don't know what amalgamation of offenses that we are trying to build here, but everything about this is bad. The Chiefs didn't necessarily do a whole lot that was super fantastic. We played Pat Mahomes pretty good. We held them to pretty low yards per carry. But we just kept turning the fucking ball over in the worst possible situations and gave them free points. You can't win games this way. I've completely turned my attention on the Cleveland Browns to the fucking draft in the offseason. I'm going to be knocking out shitloads of mock drafts. I'm going to try to have a little bit of fun I can for the rest of the year, as long as nobody fucking bitches too much about how much people enjoy watching football. But yeah, it sucks. Like, this is not a fun year. It's not fun talking about the Browns right now. Hasn't been basically all year.
Yeah. Now, look, we know that the strength of your team realistically is that defense right now. The fact that Jameis Winston was able to throw 3 interceptions and then DTR for another interception on top of that, the fact that you had multiple lost fumbles, and this game was only 21-7, only a 2-point or a 2-score difference between you and the Chiefs. I think it says something about your Browns, the resiliency, the way that the defense plays, but it also has to point towards this Chiefs team to continue that narrative that A, they played down to their opponent, and B, that they are just kind of lucking out in a lot of these wins. Now, this wasn't a luck win here. It was just lucky that it was this close, if anything, for the Browns. They just aren't as good of a team as a lot of people like to make them out to be. Patrick Mahomes goes down in this game with an ankle injury, was a full participant in practice, I believe, today. Probably, look, it's an easy cop-out type of excuse. I'm not saying it was a fake injury, but they're going to, I believe in Chiefs Kingdom, going to kind of promote this as like, hey, he's hurt, he's hurt. So it explains away a lot of these gremlins that they've had the entire year. But at the end of the day, it's week 15. He's not been really that good this year. He has been subpar on a subpar offense as far as talent is concerned, and that this team is not very dominant or scary to anyone at this point. Um, and then, yeah, as far as your Browns look, it's sad to see what happened to Nick Chubb, but I was part of that group that thought he might have already played his last game as a Brown when he went down with that knee injury. It scared me from the get-go of him coming back out here now, broken foot, contract ending with the Browns. It doesn't make a lot of financial sense to bring him back in your situation. You've got to look towards getting new, young, cheap, and he's none of those things at this point. So it would be sad to see him go, but it's probably the path that this thing is going.
Good year to need a running back, though. Great running back class in the draft. It's Nick Chubb's probably top 3 favorite Brown of all time. Him, Joe Thomas, Josh Cribbs, top 3 Browns of all time, in my opinion. My favorite guys. So yeah, it fucking sucks. I can't wait to take this jersey down and actually wear it, because I refuse to wear a jersey of a player when they're still on the team. Very superstitious about it. I love Nick Chubb. I wish him nothing but the best, but it makes no sense to bring him back, and that sucks. But football's a business.
Yep. All right, next game, Bengals and Titans. Bengals get the win in Nashville, 37-27. Another decent day for Joe Burrow and this Titans team that ended up just having a turnover fest. That's who they are. They're a 3-11 team. They're a 3-11 team for a reason. They've been eliminated from the playoffs along with the Jaguars there in the AFC South. And the Bengals are technically still holding on to hope. They are not mathematically eliminated at this point. Jamar Chase is still obviously elite. Joe Burrow is pretty damn elite. It is just a numbers game at this point. It sucks when you start off the year in such a hole behind everyone else. It's going to be tough to pull yourself out of that hole. There's still 2 games below 500 and really, really low odds of them possibly getting into the playoffs, but it's still there if you're a Bengals fan.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to get in if you're a Bengals fan. Your team is not that good. You're going to go in and you're going to get embarrassed. 6-8 right now, 2 games behind the Chargers at 8-6 for that 7 spot right now. The Bengals don't have a hard strength of schedule, so there's not a very good team. They spot the whole league 2 games at the start of the year every year. So, I mean, there's not a lot to say. The one shining moment of this game, and I'm sure Graydon is going to be very excited, is T'Vondre Sweat running the ball, because the Madden card that is going to come from T'Vondre Sweat as a halfback is going to be insane. I'm sure every Madden player is very excited for that, because that run was ridiculous.
Yeah, pretty fun. But hey, real quick, got a breaking news alert. ESPN's reporting that the Atlanta Falcons are replacing Kirk Cousins as the starting quarterback for the remainder of the year. Michael Penix is now the starter down in Atlanta.
Michael Penix. Wow.
Big Penix energy time.
Yeah, big Penix energy.
Floppy Penix on the field.
So extra things to talk about when we get to that game. I figured that's where we'd go anyways with the comments from Morris and Kirk this week. So, wow. Wild scenario, but obviously probably the right move. I don't want Kirk Cousins, and not at the price tag. I'll give you a conditional 6th round pick, and you keep his contract. We can't take any more money, bro. We cannot take on any more money.
Well, not everyone wants to go up to Cleveland and be a Brown. Let's just pump the brake right away.
That's very true.
You know that he's going to have that trade clause. Now, Stefanski's a guy that he probably knows from his time in Minnesota, but still, there's worse situations to go in if I'm Kirk, but not a lot worse unless they fix that offensive line. Let's be clear there, because Kirk.
I would imagine that is going to be a big focus of this draft, because while there's not a ton of premier talent, there is a lot of depth along the offensive line. I would imagine at least 2, probably 3 with the amount of picks we got. At least 3 offensive linemen getting drafted for the Browns this year.
All righty. Yeah, back to that Bengals Titans game, though. Not a lot to write home about there. It'll be interesting to watch this offseason what the Bengals do with T. Higgins, in my opinion. Are they going to try to franchise tag and trade him? Just like you franchised him this year, you didn't get a whole lot out of doing that. I mean, he's a good player, but your team is pretty terrible. It would suck to lose an asset like that if you're the Bengals. But you got to do something. You're not going to re-sign him because contracts are just getting.
And I don't think they can afford to keep him.
Yeah, there's always a way, but is it worth it? I don't know. Like, it realistically would have been the year this year. Sign him, trade him, try to get something and move on. Next game, Commanders get the win in New Orleans versus the Saints, but this was way damn closer than it should have been. Yeah. Commanders 20, Saints 19. Jaden Daniels, an okay day, but there's no reason that these teams should be as close as they were in this game. Are the Commanders falling back to earth?
No, man, I don't think so. Like, there's going to be ups and downs every year with a rookie quarterback. We've seen Jaden Daniels have a couple of lumps. They still got to win. And listen, he didn't play terrible. The offensive line was atrocious. He took 8 fucking sacks, and not all of those sacks are his fault. Some of those were, holding the ball too long a little bit. Nowhere near Caleb Williams' level of holding the ball too long. But Jaden Daniels is not going to, I don't think he's plummeting back to earth. They ran the ball efficiently. They have good weapons. It's just a close game. I'm not going to hop into the sky is falling.
I'd argue that he had a very good statistical game, especially from the viewpoint of him being a rookie quarterback. I mean, look, 226 yards passing, 25 of 31, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, no lost fumbles. He ran for another 66 yards on the ground on 11 carries. That's a pretty darn good day for a rookie quarterback. It just seems like their game plan, they were able to put up 20 points, which isn't terrible by any means, but the defense really didn't hold up their end of the bargain. They allowed this Saints team that was led by Jay Kaner and Spencer Rattler, who I think is probably going to be the guy moving forward. They allowed this team to stick in it, and despite having a pretty bad offensive day from the Saints team. I mean, no one on quarterback did anything special. Their running game never really got established. You have Kendre Miller beginning the majority of the work as a runner. And then you have Jags basically at receiving options. Like, they should not have been in this game where they were. And it was a big letdown on defense. Look, I personally think that this Washington team has a lot of gusto about them, but they're falling back to earth a little bit for me. Like, the offense can be special, can do some fun things, but we're getting late in the year. You saw it last night from Caleb Williams. He's huffing and puffing, and this, he's because he's running a track meet on the field and getting his ass whooped. But like, these rookie quarterbacks, they've never been in a season this long, and the NFL season now is longer than it's really ever been before. So it is testing their fortitude and their ability. We'll see if Jaden Daniels can hold up to that. But look, this Washington team, while they were surprised in the middle of the year and the beginning of the year with how good that they're doing, I think the playing field has gotten a little bit more even. They had that big boost, and now teams have figured them out a little bit. So they are a good team, not a great team, and that'll be interesting watching going forward.
All right. I don't have much else to add, man. I like the Commanders. I think they're a pretty decent team. I don't think that the sky is falling. Just a tougher than expected game.
Yep. Next up, Ravens go to New York, play the Giants, get the win here as expected, 35-14. They cover the big fucking spread here. Lamar Jackson's throws for 5 touchdown passes, keeping him in the MVP conversation, but based off of the leader of that house for MVP conversations, he probably still is in second or third at this point. But a good get-back game for the Ravens, albeit going up against a team that is in that tank mode right now. Giants absolutely out of this and currently 2-12. They have not won a home game this year, which is a really tough look for those fans.
Man. So we got a lot of Tim Boyle. Tommy played okay. I mean, this is just, the Giants are trash. They're tanking. They don't want to win.
Yeah.
There's nothing else to say. The Ravens are good. Lamar Jackson threw 5 touchdowns. In a normal year, if Josh Allen doesn't exist. Lamar Jackson wins the fucking MVP this year. But that's not going to happen because I'm pretty sure Josh Allen sealed it up with his week. I don't really have anything else to add about this game. It was a 16.5-point spread for a fucking reason.
Yep. Ravens sit at 9-5, second in the AFC North behind the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are 10-4. Steelers are locked into the playoffs right now. Ravens are not. But look, I think we're going to get into the conversation here about the Pittsburgh Steelers shortly. But I think that the Ravens probably look a little bit more like a complete team. That could be an interesting and fun matchup to watch here. Who actually ends up winning this AFC North going forward? Because while the Steelers have a 1-game lead, I don't think it's a sure thing at all with 3 games left in the season how this is going to turn out. Cowboys and Panthers. Cowboys get the win here, 30-14. Panthers were the home favorites for the first time in a long time. It was come back to earth time for those Panthers and Panthers fans. Bryce Young, not a fantastic, but not a terrible day. Kind of like what we said in our lead up to this game. He's 19-28, 219 yards and a touchdown. It's not a terrible day, but at the end of the day, this Panthers team is just not very good. And the Cowboys, they started to turn it on a little bit here at the end. Nothing that any Cowboys fans should get excited about. Just remember, your team is 6-8. You are third in your division. It is not your year. You might not be eliminated, but you might as well be eliminated. It's not your year, Cowboys fans. Just pump the brakes. You're having good play from guys like Rico Dowdle, who was able to put up almost $150 on the ground. CeeDee Lamb's going to do what CeeDee Lamb does.
I have a point to make about the Rico Dowdle thing.
Absolutely. Go for it.
They need to fire Mike McCarthy, and it needs to happen immediately. And Rico Dowdle just proved it. Why the fuck wasn't he playing earlier in the year? Why wasn't he having way more carries? Ezekiel Elliott is still, even without the workload that Zeke was getting, he is still wildly ineffective. Rico Dowdle is the far superior back in this. What the fuck were they thinking? What was he doing? What was going on with this offense? They thought that Zeke was going to be the lead back, and they were going to take this young, dynamic back who has a lot of potential, and then he was just going to find his spots here and there. There's not enough opportunity in this fucking Cowboys offense because they're not very good. Mike McCarthy should be fired. Plain and simple. I don't know if Cowboys fans are going to be all that upset about that, but listen, they're 6-8. I guess technically they're not eliminated from the playoff contention yet either. They fucking basically should be, but I don't understand it, man. I don't get it.
Yeah, the Cowboys is an interesting one. We've been saying for years that McCarthy should be fired. I think that the Dowdle case is just another little cherry on the top of the whole situation why McCarthy shouldn't be there. It sounds like he's going to remain the head coach there, but you never know. Jerry might just flip a switch and decide to move on. The Cowboys are going to be an interesting situation if they were to move on from McCarthy, because that's the only thing that really provides any semblance of hope to me if I'm a Cowboys fan. Because otherwise, next year, you're going to get a lot of the same. Dak Prescott will be back, but you're going to get a lot of the same. Hopefully, you get a running back, probably one in the draft. Genty's going to be right in your pick range, right? That would be fun as a Cowboys fan. And you always have CeeDee, but you had to fix that offensive line. You've got some holes on defense that you got to fix. And then this team could be mildly competitive, right? They could get on a little bit of a tear like last year and make a little playoff push. But I don't think that you're going to have the moon-faced captain back there piloting this team to a fucking Super Bowl anytime soon. So if you want to stick in mediocrity, you stick with Mike McCarthy. I think that should probably be his presidential slogan. And that's what Jerry kind of is going to just keep doing right now, it seems like.
Well, I want to transition. Speaking of mediocrity and moon faces, we're going to talk about the Jets and the Jags. Jets get the win 32-25. Both of these teams are trash. The only storyline worth talking about coming out of this game is your boy, Aaron Rodgers, and the comments that he continues to make on a week in and week out basis. And now it seems like there are media personalities that are all teaming up, battling one another on ESPN and on social media. Evo, I cannot wait to hear your take on what's going on with the Jets and Aaron Rodgers, because this game is completely fucking irrelevant. They both suck.
Yeah, they both suck, but so does Aaron Rodgers. He sucks as more than a player, though. He just kind of sucks as a person and as a teammate. That's the comments I have. It's nothing new. It's we're in week 15. It's the same story. Same story it's been all year. And the entire time that I've been following Aaron Rodgers is that he's an aloof, arrogant piece of shit human being. Uh so look, this is exactly what he wants, ladies and gentlemen. He wants you to squabble about him. Me. Pay me attention. Watch me and my white turtleneck. Like it is what it is, man. The Jets should hopefully get rid of him this offseason and he can fade off into mediocrity.
Fade off in the mediocrity. Hopefully, when that happens, Brees Hall will come out of mediocrity and will be a viable pick in fantasy football at some point. Other than that, I don't have much else on this. Devontae Adams, still a dog. The only guy that Aaron Rodgers seemingly wants to fucking throw the ball to.
Yep, absolutely. Next up, Dolphins and Texans. Texans get the win at home, 20-12. 4 turnovers by that Texans team. Good defensive day for them. Something I was banging the table for, that they are secretly one of the better defensive teams in the league and really, really good at home. And what do? Take advantage, get a bunch of turnovers, have themselves a day and a win. Texans already oh, fuck. Excuse me. Texans already clinched up in the playoffs. They I believe have the AFC South at this point. I'll go check here yet. They're
Yes,
locked in.
I got it up.
So good game for the Texans. Good to see them get a win. I think they're still not going to be a big time threat going into the playoffs unless they catch a little bit of a spark here at the end.
Yeah. The Dolphins are about done. They're not quite out of it. They're hanging on by a thread. Texans lock in, but I don't know what they need to do. Their offense has sputtered quite a bit this year. Their running game just didn't get going. It just seems like they just haven't been explosive this year. We had a couple of plays with Nico Collins, one called back play from Nico Collins as soon as he got back from injury. It feels like explosive plays have really been kind of lacking from this Texans offense this year. And, you're going to lose. If you lose a couple of those chunks every game, points are coming off the board. Good enough to win, good enough to lock up their position in the playoffs, but not a ton to write home about. The Dolphins are hanging on by a thread because Tua is, hanging on by a thread.
All righty. Next up, we have the Colts and Broncos. Broncos at home get the win, move to 9-5, 31-13 over this Colts team. Anthony Richardson looking like Anthony Richardson, and realistically, he probably gets our Bo Nix trophy of the week
every week.
It's been pretty bad consistently for Anthony Richardson, whereas we've seen that kind of upward trend for Bo Nix. Nix does a good job, especially big time fourth quarter for this team to kind of pull ahead and get the win there. Look, the Broncos look like a playoff team. Their defense still looks extremely stout. The offense doesn't have to go gangbusters because of the way that this defense plays. Broncos again at 9-5. They are looking at a wild card spot right now because they're not going to be able to win that AFC West with the Chiefs at 13 wins currently. So good Broncos team. Sean Payton did it. I mean, he is milking the most out of an average quarterback and getting a good system going, and he's doing it through less than conventional means for traditional NFL football team right now. It is through really, really, really good defense. That's something that we see from maybe one team every couple years is their defense is so good that they're undeniable, almost like your Chiefs. Your Chiefs. I want to keep.
Stop fucking doing that. That's not my team.
Almost like your Browns. Last year, extremely good on defense. Question marks all around at quarterback and on offense, and then that defense kind of keeps them in it. That's what this team is this year, except for the offense has a quarterback, and they kind of know what they are. They're not asking a ton out of them. Look, that's a scary team to me in the playoffs because of how good that defense plays. They're going to be able to hold a lot of teams down and be successful that way. So, look, good win for the Broncos.
Good win for the Broncos. I like the defense. I think it will travel in the playoffs, but you have to get that running game going a little bit more. Bo Nix, listen, threw 3 picks in this game, not without his warts, but he still played way better than Anthony Richardson. Richardson only threw 2 picks. However, Anthony Richardson once again completed less than 50% of his fucking passes. You cannot win games in the NFL like that. His athleticism isn't enough to overcome his wild inaccuracy. There's just not enough chunks that you can cobble together to turn it into consistent points. There's no way to win football games like this. The Broncos didn't have a great offensive day by any means, but they didn't have to. Anthony Richardson handed all sorts of points to these guys. So that's all I got, man. The Colts might be in the market for another quarterback. Maybe they'll go look at Kirk Cousins.
Maybe. Next up.
Hey, Kirk likes the Midwest, bro. Indianapolis would be great for him.
Yeah, maybe. I think he likes being down there by his wife's family.
Yeah.
Big game of the week, Bills, Lions, and it was everything that we kind of wanted.
Hell yeah.
Bills get the win 48-42. The difference in this game was a couple weird calls by Motor City Dan Campbell and injuries and some turnovers. And even then, it was still pretty damn close. Look, it was a complete game from this Bills team, at least on offense. They're going up against one of the best offensive teams out there in the Lions, and their defense has been shown to be susceptible, which is why they allowed 42 points. But again, this is just one of those anomaly situations, anomaly games where a quarterback can go throw for nearly 500 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions, and still be the loser in a game. Josh Allen did it the week prior with an even bigger stat line. And then you have Jared Goff come out here and do it in this game with a huge stat line, and they still take the loss in this one. And truly, I do think it's because of the turnover that happened in this game for this Lions team. And then the weird call, fourth quarter, 12 minutes left, and MCDC calls the onside kick. You can't deny the fact that the man has some balls and he just wants to go all gas, no break. It's a tough look when you're in this game. That's kind of the reason why you've lost this one, realistically.
Do you remember the movie Waiting?
Yes.
Where they had, like, the brain?
Mm-hmm. The Batwing.
Yeah, Batwing, the brain, all that shit. Motor City Dan Campbell needs to use his real brain, because going for the onside kick there was him just thinking with his nutsack. It's a bad move. Now, fantastic game. Great game. 48-42, fucking shootout. I was hoping for game of the week. Josh Allen fucking balls out. Jared Goff goes for almost 505 touchdowns. Like, everything about this game was fun. A couple weird calls, and then obviously the injuries. I feel really bad for the Lions and their team, their fans. The amount of injuries the team has sustained is going to probably severely impact their chances to go all the way and win a Super Bowl. I know that MCDC doesn't think so, and I got to tell you, I love his interview today. He dropped the F-bomb at least 3 times on a radio show, and I fucking love it. Give me as many fucks as you can on the air, MCDC, because you're talking to everybody. You're talking to the guys in the locker room. You're talking to the fans because you give a fuck. You care. It matters. Your guys are going to go out there and they're going to fucking play. I have mad respect for everything that organization has done to get to where they are. But they ran into Josh Allen, and Josh Allen played really fucking good, and the injuries have caught up to the Lions. At some point, I thought maybe they would get healthy again. It just hasn't happened, man. And the injuries continue to pile on. Are they going to go a long ways in the playoffs? Fuck yeah, because the next best team in the NFL, in my opinion, was the Bills, 48-42. That's a great game. I think those are still the 2 best teams in football. The injuries are just really going to catch up to the Lions here. I hope they make a hell of a run at it, or they find a way to get healthy. Aiden Hutchinson's apparently trying to say that he might be available to play if the Super Bowl happens. I don't know. I hope good things, but man, what a fucking great game.
Yeah, look, your starting defensive tackle, Ali McNeil, that you just re-signed, goes down. You lose 2 cornerbacks, one to a broken jaw, one to a terrible ankle injury, and then losing David Montgomery You're losing half of that Sonic and Knuckles combination in the backfield, which helped make that offense really special. I'm sure a lot of fantasy owners, now no one wants to say, like, no one wants to see injuries happen, right? But a lot of fantasy owners of Jameer Gibbs are probably like, man, it would have been nice if this injury had happened earlier in the season so we could have just gotten focused on our running back. Because I think Jameer Gibbs can be a standalone back and he can do his thing there. But look, the Lions right now are pulling guys off of other teams' practice squads to come play defense for them. They've been doing it for a couple weeks. They're going to have to continue doing that. They are down again. 2 cornerbacks, a starting defensive tackle. They got a couple players back from injury in this game, but it wasn't tremendously impactful. This is a team that is unfortunately going to possibly be losing due to attrition, especially on one side of the ball. And part of it is that brand of football that they play all gas, no break. Sooner or later, the motor's going to fucking break. Something's going to happen. And can you keep riding this thing to the finish line? We'll see. They have a lot of fucking heart. That's the beautiful thing about this Lions team is that Dan Campbell, the leader of this team, has a lot of heart, and he gets those guys feeling that heart and rolling with it behind them. I'm fearful for how far they can go in this playoff because after a game like that, it'll be really interesting to see how the Lions are able to rebound. They're still going to have that heart, but this team has to be getting to the point that they are exhausted, man. Like the everybody, you're getting new faces in there expecting to do good things. Now, look, they get the Bears this week in Chicago. That's a team that's gettable, but the Bears played them close last time. It'll be interesting, man. Look, we get them the last week of the year. It could decide the NFC North as well. I don't want to win just because a team is down on players and has injuries and stuff like that. But I'll take a win.
Obviously.
But yeah, it sucks to see this happen. People want to find ways to point fingers. At the end of the day, football is a violent sport. People get hurt.
Yep.
And you weren't complaining when you were winning and when Dan Campbell was having to walk around with those big old clackers between his legs every week. You're like, yeah, that's my coach. Yep. If you want to blame him for running it to the wall, balls to the wall, like, don't be happy with the product you saw earlier in the year. This is who this team is. You have to be able to enjoy it and understand that sometimes there's going to be consequences.
Anything on the Bills before we transition over into the next game?
No, man. Like, I think that just cemented the MVP for me for Josh Allen, the way that he played. Like, I looked at him playing, especially in that first half, and I was like, there is not a single team out there in the NFL that wouldn't prefer to have him as their starting quarterback, in my opinion. The only thing that I found odd was when I brought it up to you and I said, imagine what he would be like if he had more talent on that offense than what he has. And you said that you don't think that he'd be as effective.
I don't. I actually don't. So one of the things about Josh Allen is that he plays hero ball. Sometimes it gets him in trouble, but he elevates everybody around him. Now, if you get in a guy, so we've seen him have a really talented guy in Stephon Diggs. He's playing better now than he ever did with having Stephon Diggs. He doesn't have, I guess, a true number one right now. Amari Cooper's not that guy. Keon Coleman's not that guy. Nobody on that team is a true number one, but he has elevated his play even higher. I don't know that he needs all of this extra supreme talent. He needs guys that play the style that he can play, that he can distribute the ball, and they run a great system for him to be able to run the ball as well. I don't know that he needs all these guys. Would he love to have a Devontae that he can just say, fuck it, he's down there somewhere and just yeet it? I'm sure he would. Who wouldn't love to have that guy? But I don't think Josh necessarily needs that to be an effective guy or to make him more effective. That's just how I feel about it.
I get that. There's a team dynamic and chemistry, and I feel like Josh though is still growing and becoming. He is better this year than he has been in previous years. Part of that is roster construction, part of that is offensive system, but part of that is just
less high quality receiving options too.
Absolutely, but I think part of that is his growth. Now, Stephon Diggs, bit of a diva, whatnot. If you get a guy out there that is an actual true number one type of receiver that has that same positive mentality that is a little bit less of a diva, like, I think that's going to provide big time options for him because you do have a bunch of Jags that he can't completely rely on, and so he has to put on the cape. Yeah. I think that you have guys that he can get the ball to. you can see some really explosive things happen. But either way, like the way that he's been playing, he's the epitome of what an NFL quarterback can be in this moment, in my opinion. And that's locked him in as an MVP for me.
Absolutely. I think
All
he
right.
is the MVP as well. And guys, if you want to be an MVP for us, because there's quite a few of you tuning in right now, a bunch of you over on Twitter, head on over to our YouTube. You can like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube page. It costs you nothing. Apparently, I was unaware of this. A lot of people think that you have to pay to subscribe on YouTube. You do not. It's completely free. Costs you a little bit of time, not a penny, and it would mean a great deal to us. But with that, we are going to slide over into the next game. One state to my right. We got Steelers taking on Philly. Philly gets the win. Jalen Hurts plays a much better game. Apparently, it comes out with like the weird Kirk Cousins kind of you like that style comments after the press conference. Yes,
Or at the press conference.
Or at the
Is this
press
what you all wanted?
Yeah, well, yeah, I think that is what everybody wanted.
Yeah.
The Steelers struggled. Russ struggled. The fucking running game was terrible. Eagles, really good team, man. So, what do you make of this game? What do you make of the comments afterward? Will we continue to see a pass-heavy offense with Jalen Hurts distributing the ball to the playmakers? Are we going to see a regression back to we're going to get Saquon going and we're just going to fucking run it down your throat?
Look, I had brought this up when we did the analysis of the game. On the Steelers side of the ball, the Steelers, while Russ had been looking good, he had not been going up against really very much as far as good defenses. And this kind of showed he was going up against a good defense, and it was a struggle bus of a day, 128 yards, 14 and 22 and 1 touchdown. And that run defense is the strong point of the defense for this Eagles team, which is why they're able to hold that team, Steelers, to 56 yards. But the Eagles, like I said, you don't have to pass the ball when you're running it as effectively as you are with Saquon. Jalen Hurts, it was either he had forgotten how to read a defense or he was having some sort of an issue with his receivers, specifically A.J. Brown. I think it was a little bit more of the latter because we've seen the former, his ability to read a defense. We've seen him able to go out there and throw the ball around. And I feel like this was one of those points where they were like, hey, we have to prove that we can still do this. We need to fucking play big boy ball right now and put our emotions aside and prove everyone wrong. And it feels like a corny fucking story, like it was almost manufactured.
Right.
Like, we're going to have these problems, and Nick Sirianni's a dumb head coach. Well, that's real. That's not manufactured at all. But, like, we're going to do all these things to show that we have internal strife and we're gritty and everything. And then we're going to come over here and we're going to put it to the Steelers for the title in Pennsylvania. And he goes out there, throws for 290 yards. He gets both of his top receivers over 100 yards for the day, both of them a touchdown. Look, I think this team is set up probably for a long playoff run. They are getting scary when they should be scary. Extremely good defense, a quarterback that can give the ball to whoever needs to get it. If you want to do it by the run game, you've got one of the best, if not the best, running back in football and Saquon to do that too. But, if you're going to shut that down, we do have the capability to throw it to a couple of our elite wide receivers. Like, it's a scary team going forward if they are able to put a full game together and keep their emotions in check.
Yeah, I agree, man.
All right. Next up, Patriots Cardinals in Arizona. Cardinals get the win here, 30-17. Kyler Murray has a so-so day, but Drake May goes out there, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Looks like a rookie quarterback playing with a whole bunch of Jags around him. Look, I think, again, Patriots fans, be excited. You got your guy. I don't think that this is a one-year wonder by any means because he's playing with no one around him. You start to surround Drake May with some good talent, another year of coaching, and you've got something going here. But no one is expecting this Patriots team to be good this year. Cardinals team are what they have been, a 500 team. They are now 7-7. Good day from James Conner on the ground. And Trey McBride, 9 catches, 87 yards, still yet to record a touchdown this year. That's a tough one for fantasy owners of Trey McBride. Got to find a way to get him in the end zone.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to say on this one, man. Cardinals were better. Patriots, be happy with Drake May. Look to the draft. Cardinals, not technically out of anything yet. 7-7. You're the 10th team though in the NFC right now. That's a long way to claw back. You got to get all the way up to the Commanders at 9-5, couple games. So keep fighting, keep clawing, get that middle first round pick because you're probably not making the playoffs. And then draft another wide receiver that you won't throw the ball to.
All
But
right.
if we're going to talk about fantasy implications.
Yeah, that's true.
Two
It's a tough year for Harrison down there with the Cardinals. But look, they're not out of it in the NFC West. They are technically in the third spot right now, NFC West at 7-7. But the Rams and Seahawks are both ahead of them at 8-6. They're technically only a game behind the both of them. NFC West is becoming just like the NFC South. They're kind of middling. It's tough to watch when you have the NFC North right above them, who you've got three teams that all look like they should beat everyone's ass. But it's coming down to the end here for the NFC West. If you had to guess, Rams, Seahawks, Cardinals, who's going to come out with the title in this matchup?
Rams.
I agree. That offense is tough right now.
Yeah,
They're Puka and Cup, Kyron, offensive line getting healthy. Yeah, that's a tough matchup.
I'd have to go there, man. Because I don't see well, we're going to talk about the next team. Falcons aren't going to do anything. Well, maybe we'll see what happens with Big Panics Energy coming in.
Mm-hmm. And then my Vikings play this Seahawks team this coming week with Geno knee injury. That could drop them a game. Who knows? It'll be interesting to watch going forward. But either way, we'll get into our next game. Buccaneers at Chargers. Bucks get the big win here, 40-17. Bucky Irving has himself a day. Baker Mayfield has himself a day. This Chargers team, again, J.K. Dobbins was a big part of this team doing well. Gus Edwards, 23 yards rushing. Kamani Vidal, only 9 yards on the ground. They weren't able to get anything going on the offense, specifically on the ground game, which led to a really rough day for Justin Herbert. Lab McConkey, only highlight here, but he only got 58 yards and a tud. The offense really, really was predicated on J.K. Dobbins. I think that's kind of the cut and dry of it. Without him there, they don't have anyone that is going to be able to continue to control that game script.
They didn't trust any of their backs. They only ran the ball 11 times. I don't know how a John Harbaugh led offense runs the fucking ball 11 times. There's no way you're going to win like that.
Yeah.
And the game was close. It was relatively close through the first half. And there was just abandonment of the run, and things got away from him. Baker balled out. I'm sad. Good job, Baker.
Yeah. And so Chargers moved to 8-6. They are currently third in the AFC West. This is something that we talked about maybe like 3-4 weeks ago of like, hey, do some of these teams that are in the playoff picture right now have a chance of falling out? And one that I kind of highlighted was this Chargers team was, I don't know if the level of competition that they've gone up against has been as high as some of these other teams. They're going to start going up against some better options, and they might have a chance to fall out here. And that's what they're doing right now, being third in this AFC West. So we'll see if Harbaugh can right the ship. I didn't think that they were going to be that good this year.
Out though, because listen, there's only 3 teams available that can unseat them at this point. You got the Colts, who are 2 games back at 6-8, the Dolphins, who are 2 games back at 6-8, and the Bengals, who are 2 games back at 6-8. Which one of those 3 teams can really get on a roll here and knock off the Chargers?
Miami would be the one that has the closest possibility of doing that, because I do think their offense can still put up points as long as they're not playing out in the cold. Look, I don't know, man. Like they are ahead by 2 games from the rest of the pack, but it's not a good look going into the offseason that way. Being the third team in your division with that bad of a record, possibly if they were to lose out or anything, having to play on the road like that, it's a weird way to back yourself into the playoffs.
Well, I mean, that's what they might end up doing. It's a long way to go. Listen, they don't have that many weeks left. 2 games to make up. This is a huge week that Chargers would have to drop. They might even need some help.
Yeah. Look, they play the Broncos this week. That's going to be a real tough matchup. But then they have the Patriots and Raiders. Those are both gettable games. They should hopefully get to that 10-win mark by the end of this. And if they can get J.K. Dobbins back come playoff time, because I think he's going to be on that short-term IR, that'll help them tremendously.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to the next game, one team that continued to run the ball well, the Green Bay Packers went to Seattle. It kicked the shit out of the Seahawks 30-13. Jordan Love has a decent day, 20-27, 229 yards, 2 tuds. Geno Smith kind of struggles, throws a pick. Sam Howell comes in at one point in this game, also does not play well. This never seemed like the Seahawks were really ever in this game. Packers controlled this game start to finish. This is that Seahawks team, man. I'm not high on them. I think they are very middling, kind of like you were saying about the Chargers. I don't believe in this Seahawks team really at all. They're at 8 in the playoff standings right now. I do not see them climbing. I see them probably falling back a little bit. I'm not there. What do you got from this game? What do you think trajectories of these teams?
Yeah, look, Geno with that knee injury is going to be interesting to watch going forward because Sam Howell did not look good coming into this game. I think he threw for or had a combined total of 5 net yards playing a good part of that second half, which isn't going to be good for that team going forward. They are in the hunt for that playoff spot, but again, Rams, I think, are the ones that are going to be taking it at this point with how good that their offense is playing. Packers, they didn't have to do a ton. They get out to an early lead, and they just kind of stayed consistent from there on. Yeah, look, the Packers are going to be a tough team going forward. I'll see you here in 2 weeks.
There you go. I'll take care of that game, but we're going to move on to your game. I'm going to kind of tee it up, and then I'm going to let you go from there. Bears go up to Minnesota and get fucking dog walked 12-30. Evo, take it away. Let's talk about your team, and then we'll talk about the Bears together because there's a lot of shit to dissect with this Bears team and what's happening with Caleb Williams. But, my man, what did you see out of your Vikings?
Mostly what I kind of expected to see. Look, we had a good running game. When we got away from our running game, things started to hurt us a little bit. Going back to the running game helped out. An overall average kind of day on offense. Sam Darnold did well, not like the barn on fire type well like he did the week before. The one interception, I mean, you have to count it on him, but it was a 4th down play. He kind of threw it up, trying to let his guys make a play deep in our red zone. It was either you get the 1st down or you turn the ball over either way. So if anything, it was a good choice because it pinned him a little bit deeper in the end zone. But look, an okay day from Sam. He was overthrowing balls a little bit. I think that he needed to calm down a little bit, but he had himself another decent day there. This team's good, man. I like this Vikes team. It'll be interesting to see going forward. We have a hell of a schedule for these last 3 games. If we win out, we get the number 1 seed in the NFC. The Eagles can't beat us in that one. And obviously, if we win out, that means that we would be getting a win over the Lions in the last week of the season, which means we would take the NFC North at that point. Do I think we can do it? I don't know. Look, we have a Seattle team that is playing good ball right now. We'll see what happens with Geno. But then you have the Packers in Minnesota and the Lions in Detroit. The Lions are gettable right now because of those injuries, but who knows where they're going to be in 3 weeks. They're going to be a tough team to go up against regardless. The Packers are a tough team to play against right now, even though we're going to be playing them at home. We have a little bit of a gauntlet here at the end, but our future is in our hands. I'm happy that it's in our hands. That's what every football team wants. Let us decide our own destiny. Getting to 1 seed would be incredible. Like, having home field advantage in the playoffs matters so much. It has mattered so much to this team, having home field advantage in the way that those fans rally around the team. And it will be a big deal for a guy like Sam Darnold, who, again, he's having a phenomenal year. You can't overlook the fact of who he was in the past, and that's always scary that it's going to come back. You're worried about the boogeyman. But as of right now, I love the way Nuke Darnold's playing, and I want to give him as much time at home in the playoffs as possible. So hopefully we win out and take the whole number 1 seed.
So Browns radio stations here in Cleveland are talking Sam Darnold possibility coming to Cleveland, or is Sam going to be back with the Minnesota Vikings? That's a possibility as well because he's played so fucking well. He's kind of played himself into a job. Put you guys into a situation where you are grateful but not grateful because it's going to cost you what, $40 million to re-sign him.
That's kind of roughly the asking price. Again, look, if we were to do a franchise tag, it's going to be in the 40 to 45 mil range for 1 year, which I think is probably something the team's going to have to give serious consideration towards. Again, at this point, is a long-term deal. I don't know that they're going to do that. JJ McCarthy is O'Connell's guy. It's his project. It's the plan moving forward. McCarthy, by many reports, was winning the training camp battle. And the only reason that we're seeing Sam Darnold out here doing what he's doing is because McCarthy went down with that knee injury. If you believe that or not, I personally believe that they were going to go with Sam Darnold the entire year, regardless, to give McCarthy a year to sit and learn. But you can't deny what you got right now in Sam Darnold, the way that he's playing. I still get scared by Sam Darnold, not just because of his past, but because of what I see on the field. His process is still a little bit slow. He's having some of the same issues as some of these younger quarterbacks where they're taking a lot of sacks. And for Sam, it's because his processing of this complicated offense is still a little bit slow. It doesn't hurt that you're playing with 2 top-tier wide receivers, a great tight end, and typically you have 2 bookend tackles out there protecting you when you just shore up that interior of the line. But, like, you are in a perfect situation to succeed. All you need is some of that offensive talent and get it to click mentally. If he's able to get the wheels turning a little bit quicker in his head, then the sky's the limit for Sam. But I don't know if that's going to happen. It scares me signing him long term. So, look, I would be okay with the franchise tag. Bring him in. You have that safety net. Let him and McCarthy truly battle it out for that starting spot. And worst case, you're able to trade him and get something more from him before the trade deadline next year to a team that's needy. I would be scared if I was Darnold because what of all the situations out there right now of places that need a quarterback, which one do you go to? You feel comfortable about the pieces in place around you and the head coaching situation. The only one that I think that Sam would really consider is going to the LA Rams if Stafford retires. That seems like a very good situation for him, and it makes all the sense.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I think everything else is scary. Your Browns are scary. The Panthers are scary. The Titans are scary. Like, where else did you really want to consider going? The Giants, you want to go back in that New York market? No.
We can't pay Sam Darnold $40 million. We're paying fucking Deshaun Watson 72. Sorry, so we're not paying Sam. Not unless there's some sort of sign and trade deal where we give up picks, but I'm not enticing that idea either. Like that, fuck that. I want to pick in the first round, even if it's a defensive tackle or a goddamn offensive tackle, depending on kind of where we end up slotting here at the end. Because right now we're sitting at the 7 seed.
Yeah.
But elsewhere in this game, we saw another rookie quarterback not play his greatest game. Made some interesting moves throughout the game. Overextended on a lot of plays and got the shit kicked out of him for doing so. And then we see the things on the sideline. So, Evo, I know you're more the old school football guy. You don't necessarily do the celebrating. You don't do all that kind of stuff. You're a very kind of, this is the way things are done when it comes to the football field. What's your take on what happened with Caleb Williams, what he was showing his teammates? And do the Bears have a problem? Because there were some concerns with the way that Caleb carried himself in college. Some of that stuff is starting to creep over. I made a comment when we were going through the draft process that I thought this dude could be either Zach Wilson or Aaron Rodgers. Right now, he's starting to look like both. Zach Wilson in late stage career, Aaron Rodgers, not the guy that was slinging it all over the yard, winning MVPs in the Super Bowl. What do you got on that, man?
I mean, I think he's still very volatile, but the story's not written yet. The Bears absolutely have to bring in an offensive coach that can teach this kid, that can coddle him correctly, that can guide him correctly. If he was put in a situation with a a Kevin O'Connell, with a Shanahan, with one of these types of coaches that can guide him correctly, the sky's the limit for him, because you saw he left touchdowns on the field yesterday because he was overthrowing receivers. That's a mechanical issue. He's extending plays. He's playing out of the system. He's trying to play hero ball when he's not there yet. He needs the correct type of coaching, and then he can make it happen. What happens on the sideline and whatnot, like, guys are allowed to have fun. They're also allowed to fucking hurt, because when you go run around like that, you're going to get blown up sometimes. And it's exactly what happened. I don't think that his story by any means is written yet. The Bears failed this kid before he failed them by putting Matt Eberflus in there as the head coach another year. They had the opportunity to bring in basically the perfect option in Harbaugh.
Yep.
He is an offensive minded guy who is a very strong, structured leader that players like. They like to play for. He's that rah-rah type of guy coming from college.
Trenches and makes it easy for a fucking rookie quarterback.
And reports are that Harbaugh was looking to go there before. They didn't really give him much interest. You whiffed on it, Bears fans. You whiffed. Harbaugh was the dude to develop this kid and bring this franchise out from the trenches. And now he's down there with the Chargers. It's unfortunate. I don't know who you're going to find to be that guy going forward for your team, but you got to do it, and then you can get a lot out of this.
Johnson?
Maybe.
You think he's going to go down the road to Chicago? I'd have a hard time seeing a Detroit guy to go down the road, dude.
Yeah.
Those guys are loyal to a fault. Ben Johnson took himself out of the running so he could go back last year. Like, those dudes love coaching together.
If I was Ben Johnson, I wouldn't want to. Like, I would still bide my time to find that perfect opportunity, but maybe. We'll see.
I mean, that's going to be the hottest name for an offensive coach on the market, if he is on the market, if he's in the hiring cycle, which I would imagine that people are going to request to interview that man.
Yeah. I assume that he might be the most sought after coach, because while there are Vrabels and whatnot out there that are going to be available, most teams are looking for an offensive guy. Most teams that are looking for a head coach are going to be looking for an offensive guy that can get them a new quarterback and start things off well, like a Raiders or something like that, when you're going to be taking one of those top quarterbacks in the draft. If Ben Johnson feels good about either one of the two top quarterbacks in this draft, in Shedeur or in Cam Ward, he should be going to a situation where they're going to be getting drafted. But I think, again, he's probably going to be able to sit back, kind of wait, pick and choose if he wants to. And more than likely, I feel like he's going to end up going back to Detroit.
Yeah, I think that will probably be the case as well. And I gotta tell you, if I'm the Lions, I'm doing anything I can to keep him. You gotta love having that dude there. Once again, you're wearing a cowboy hat, apparently. Roberto Gussolini questioning your headgear. Moving on, final game of the slates. Falcons taking on the Raiders. Falcons get the win 15-19. Kirk Cousins plays like shit. The Falcons generally don't play very well, but they played the Raiders, who are purposely trying to lose. So the Falcons got a win. This game is the end of the road, I believe, of Kirk Cousins in Atlanta. We will not see him start another game, in my opinion.
I don't know, man. That's the thing, is like the Falcons are one game back in the NFC South. Buccaneers, if they win out, obviously it's theirs, but the Falcons aren't like completely out of it yet. Penix.
I think they want to make the transition to Penix, whether they make the fucking playoffs or not. They are done with the Kirk Cousins experiment.
I mean, I think you have to be with the way that he's playing, and Penix gives you a bigger boost to your offensive weapons, a bigger chance to win. I feel like if the Falcons want to make it to the playoffs, the way Kirk is playing isn't going to happen. Penix is the option to make that happen. This is like, you could have said that they maybe should have made the move last week, but like now making that happen, like at least they're doing their last ditch effort to get back into the playoff race. Penix gives them that option. They're going to be a fun team to watch this weekend. with Penix going out there to see if he's actually going to provide that boost or not. They go up against the Giants. It's a good spot for Penix to start. All right. And it's a home game in Atlanta. So, those fans are going to be pumped to see Penix out there flopping around all over the field, doing his thing, just slinging it. Then you have the Commanders and Panthers to finish out the year. It's a gettable schedule here for the Falcons.
Mhm.
It's a gettable schedule for the thick Penix to go out there and make things happen, dude. Like, this is absolutely when they should have made this move. And it'll be fun to watch, see if he's got the juice to take him into the postseason.
I would imagine that we'll see the ball stretched down the field quite a bit more than we have. I still don't like this Falcons team. I especially don't like their defense, but I do. You gotta like this move. If Kirk is not the guy going to be long term, it sucks that you gave him the contract. You're going to have to figure out a way to unfuck the contract situation. But I'm a big proponent of not sticking with a bad decision just to hide the fact that you made a bad decision. Like, once it's already out there, just fucking change. Everybody already knows it's a bad fucking decision. Why stick with it? Like, you just make yourself look worse, which is why the Deshaun Watson fucking situation was so infuriating. It was like, guys, this is a bad decision. Why are we still doing this? Just like, can we call a spade and move the fuck on? Falcons are doing that. And I think it's the brilliant idea. Get the young guy in there. I'm also kind of maybe trying to push my organization to do the same thing.
All righty. But hey, that wraps it up for our week. Now we got to look towards Thursday Night Football. Which is going to be a decent one here. Denver Broncos going in to face the LA Chargers. Chargers are currently favored by 3 points on FanDuel at minus 104 odds. You can give those points to the Broncos for minus 118 odds. I know I'm going in with this one, Mike. Chargers team has a good defense, but right now their offense is not clicking. No J.K. Dobbins. The Broncos getting those 3 points. Their offense doesn't have to click too much, but it can more right now than the Chargers, and their defense is playing lights out. I'm giving the points to the Broncos at this one on Thursday night.
Yeah. This is a really easy game. So I remember a few years ago, we were bitching. The Broncos were constantly on Thursday, and they were terrible. We were watching Russell Wilson just stink it up Thursday after Thursday. They'll probably continue to play a lot of primetime games. They're playing really well right now. I expect that to continue. And the Chargers are scuffling. They have scuffled. And they don't really have a home field advantage down there in LA. So I'm not worried about location or any of that stuff. The Broncos are a better team right now, and they're getting the points. Broncos +3.
Yep, absolutely. All right, and that wraps it up. We're done for the week until Sunday.
Hell yeah. Good week of football. We got another good week of football coming up. We'll be back Sunday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern time. We're going to go through, make all these bets for the whole goddamn week. Yes. So if you guys check us out on any one of the places below, X, Facebook, TikTok, you can see all the content we put out. Shorts. We put out a bunch of shorts, but we cannot put out shorts for every game. We just don't have the manpower. Producer Amber is a fucking stud, but she's only one person. So if you guys want to check out every game, bet alongside with us, come back Sunday morning, 11 a.m. We will be live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube as always. But with that, man, are you ready to get the fuck out of here?
Yes, sir. I need to go find something to eat and hit the gym before bed.
Hell yeah. Give the people one last word.
I don't really have a good last word. Fuck Aaron Rodgers. That's a good last word.
Aaron Rodgers. And make sure you bring that big Penix energy. Guys, I'm Mike. That's Evo. This is the Lineman Lounge. See you Sunday.
See you.